Hey guys, Sean here, and this is the first video that I am filming since I changed the channel name to Eclectic Cove. Now I do still have some other videos that I have filmed before I changed the channel name that haven't gone up. One I actually tried to get up today as I'm recording this, but I was having uploading issues, so that one's gonna be later this week probably. Because this one I definitely want to get up on Monday, because one of the things I want to start doing is movie Mondays. So my movie videos are going to come out on Mondays, hopefully, and I'm going to do movie Mondays. And what I want to do with this video is I want to talk about the 5 films that were nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Dramatic Feature, and discuss the 5 films and talk about what my favorite of the 5 films won, and basically if I feel like the winner, 1917, is the film that I feel should have won. I realized last weekend, I didn't even know that the Golden Globes were coming up last Sunday, and I was looking at what the films were and saw that 3 of them were Netflix originals. One of them was Joker, which was coming out to be able to rent streaming the following Tuesday, and 1917, the film that won, was being released in theaters the following Friday after the Golden Globes. So it wasn't going to be possible for me to watch all 5 films and do kind of a predictions video before the Globes, especially since I didn't realize until the Friday before that they were that Sunday. Just as I've been getting back into looking at movies and researching what's been out there and where the awards have been. I didn't even know that the Golden Globes. I knew that the nominations had been announced, but I hadn't looked into them. But I didn't know that they were coming up that soon. And as this video is going up, the Monday this video is going up, the Oscar nominations are happening on this day, the 13th of January. So it'll be interesting to see what those will be. And so I thought it'd be fun to watch all 5 films and do a video on them. As I go further into movie content, I will probably, and my wife and I were talking about this too, I tend, just like in books, I tend to like less known stuff, less hyped stuff. Although I do read I do tend to pick up a lot of the hype stuff, but regardless, I've always been more of an independent film kind of person. Even when I was in the movies before, I always sought out the ones that nobody was talking about, that weren't getting the attention that maybe they deserved. So since the Golden Globes have happened, I've discovered the Film Independent Spirit Awards, which are happening on February 8th. Now, those I still won't be able to watch like all 5 of the films being nominated for Best Feature and do a predictions video, because one of them is got one showtime in my area. It's got a 12 p.m. January 31st showtime in Ann Arbor, which is about 45 minutes from me, so it's not like it's that far from me. But it's at 12 p.m. on a Friday, and it's the only showing so far in my area. So my fleeting thought to do what I would have liked to have done for the Golden Globes for the Spirit Awards isn't going to work, because I'm not going to get to see all 5 films, and I don't want to pressure myself to watch them either. So, but I am going to, watch. Between now and February 8th, I'm going to watch what I can of the movies that are nominated in various categories of the Spirit Awards. But that is not the Golden Globes. That is not the 5 films for the Golden Globes. That's just a little insight for you into where my movie content is going to focus. Now, most of my Monday movie videos are going to be what I've watched through the week. I have watched a few more movies than these 5, but I will talk about them next Monday when I wrap up this week's movie watching. This is very specific. Okay, so the 5 films nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Dramatic Picture were The Irishman, The Two Popes, Marriage Story, Joker, and The Winner, 1917, which just came out in theaters this Friday. And that's the order I'm going to talk about them in, because that's the order I watched them in. That's not necessarily the order of which I enjoyed them the most. That is just the order I watched them in. So first I watched The Irishman, which is a 3.5-hour film. I didn't sit down and watch the entire 3.5 hours in one shot. I watched like an hour after I got out of work on a Friday night, and then I finished it the other 2.5 hours after my wife went to bed that same Friday night. So I did still watch it all on a Friday night, just not in one sitting. The Irishman is directed by Martin Scorsese, written by Steve Zalian, who wrote the screenplay, and Charles Brandt, who wrote the book. It stars Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. I'm just looking at the IMDb page. I really, really liked this movie. I was gripped from the start. The movie, it was Scorsese, of course. It's a mafia movie, and we are following Robert De Niro's character, and he starts the movie as an old man, and he's telling basically his life story and what he went through in his life in relation to and how he was involved with Jimmy Hoffa, how he was involved with the mafia and with Jimmy Hoffa. I don't want to go into too much detail on that because I don't want to give much away of the movie. I feel like the IMDb page, just the one sentence description on the IMDb page, gives away too much. But this movie has been criticized for being overly long, and I agree to an extent. I think about a half an hour to 45 minutes of this movie could have been cut. It didn't need to be 3.5 hours long. It could have been shortened by about a half an hour to 45 minutes. But it also didn't need to be shortened either, if that makes sense. It didn't need to be as long as it was, but it also, I don't feel like it needed to be shorter. It could have been shorter. It didn't need to be shorter. I was gripped the entire time. And when I was watching the final 2.5 hours in one shot, I didn't even realize that much time had passed by the time it was over. I was just gripped, and I'm one who I need to have something to do with my hands while I'm watching something, at least at home. So I tend to, since I took up cross stitch, I tend to stitch while I'm watching a movie. I would be in mid-stitch just watching the movie, and 20 minutes would go by, and I'd still be mid-stitch of a stitch. That's how gripped I was by this movie. The performances were great. Joe Pesci was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Award-worthy performance from him. Probably one of the best things I've ever seen Joe Pesci do. I had heard that this movie used some digital effects to make Robert De Niro younger, and I was afraid that was going to distract me from the movie, and it didn't at all. And I saw the necessity of doing it because he's starting as an old man, and then we're going back in his life. but we're not going back far enough to warrant another actor playing it. So needed to make him younger, and doing it digitally wasn't a noticeable distraction. It didn't. It was done very well, and it didn't take me out of anything at all. So that is The Irishman from Martin Scorsese. The next film that was nominated was The Two Popes. I just need to switch pages here. The Two Popes. It was directed by Fernando Meirelles and Anthony McCartan. And this movie stars Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce as Pope Benedict and Pope Francis, respectively. And the movie really is about it. I don't, probably not fully accurate. In fact, I've heard it's not fully accurately, but it's about what transpired or possibly transpired between Pope Benedict and Pope Francis in the transition from Pope Benedict eventually stepping down as Pope and Pope Francis becoming Pope. This movie relies heavily on the prowess of its two actors. It really could be a play. My wife and I watched this together, and we both came away with the same instinct that this could have been a play. If you took out a lot, all of the news clips and flashback stuff that happened in the movie, this could very easily be just a play of these two men sitting on stage having a conversation. And the character work was second to none. I mean, you're talking about two seasoned actors showing why they have the respect that they have as actors. They are masters of their craft, and it's slow, but it's still engaging. It has moments of a little bit faster pace. Again, this is one I think could have been shorter. It can drag a little bit, especially in the telling of histories. But if you want to watch two seasoned actors who are masters of their craft engage with each other and just show just what character work is all about, then this is a great film to watch. Yeah, and you're going to see a theme with the Netflix. This Irishman and this one are both Netflix originals, and so is Marriage Story. And you're gonna see a theme of could have been shorter with these Netflix original ones. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Two Popes. I don't know that it's one I would if I was in a group and people wanted to watch it, I would definitely watch it again. I don't know if it's one I'll watch again on my own, but I definitely really enjoyed it. So the third movie is Marriage Story, and it's written and directed by Noah Baumbach. It stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, has appearances by Laura Dern, Ray Liotta, and Alan Alda as divorce lawyers. And this movie is about it. Well, it's a marriage story. The title says it, but it also doesn't say what it's about, because it starts with the couple are getting divorced, and it's really the story of them going through their divorce and coming out the other side, and what their relationship is like coming out the other side. I thought Adam Driver was great. Scarlett Johansson was good. Maybe not the best thing I've seen Scarlett Johansson do, but I thought Adam Driver really deserved the actor nomination he got. which he was beat by Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. Excuse me. It was for me. It was nice to see Adam Driver do something that was not Kylo Ren. I'm definitely more interested in seeing more of his work outside of the most recent Star Wars trilogy. Now I did watch Noah Baumbach's. I think it was his first film, Squid and the Whale. The night before I watched this. And I almost regret doing that because it was a kind of similar story. It started with the couple was going to get divorced, and it dealt with a kind of self-centered husband of the couple. I definitely saw a recurring theme between the two movies. I think A Marriage Story does it better, though. Between Squid and the Whale and Marriage Story, and I'm comparing those two because they have a similar story. I think Marriage Story achieves the story better. Now I know Squid and the Whale was done largely out of Noah Baumbach's own experiences. But I definitely see the bleed through of that in Marriage Story. And it, again, had parts that seemed to go on a bit too long. I think it was about a 2.25 hour movie. I think it could have been about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Some things just tended to drag on a little bit too long. And Laura Dern was great as Scarlett Johansson's lawyer. And it was nice to see Alan Alda's bit in the movie, and the movie even has an appearance from Wallace Shawn, who Princess Bride fans will know as Vicente in Princess Bride. And he's just always funny. But yeah, Marriage Story definitely was a good movie. It is nominated for Best Feature for the Independent Film Spirit Awards too. So I don't feel it's undeserving of the accolade. It wasn't my favorite of the films I watched, but probably definitely within the top 2 or 3. Probably within the top 3 of the 5 films that I watched. I haven't stopped thinking about this one. And that says something. Yeah. So anyway, that's Marriage Story. Joker is the next film. I watched that yesterday morning. And I don't think I need to go into a ton of detail about this one. It is a possible origin story for the famous Batman villain, the Joker. This was on my films I want to watch this year too, so I was able to knock one of those out. It's directed by Todd Phillips and written by Todd Phillips and Scott Silver. Stars Joaquin Phoenix, has as well Arthur Fleck, who eventually becomes Joker. That's not a spoiler. We know at the end of the movie he's going to become Joker. But it's about the circumstances in his life and what is going on with him mentally that leads him to become Joker. Now, I'm not going to get into the mental health debate that surrounds this movie. I don't know enough about that to discuss that intellectually or with any kind of to discuss that with the respect that it would deserve. I would be mostly talking out my ass, and I don't want that. And I don't want to do that. I think Joaquin Phoenix delivered a good performance. I don't know, and I can't really say that he definitely deserved the Best Actor one because I didn't see all the films from the other actors who were nominated for Best Actor for the Golden Globe. he does do a great job. This one, I almost feel like it wasn't long enough. I almost feel like this needed even a little bit more. I'm still processing this one too, and it's going to be a little bit of the case with 1917. I'm still kind of processing them, but I know a lot of people were upset in Twitter comments and stuff that Joker didn't win. A lot of the fanboys were upset, and I can't say I agree with being upset that this didn't win. I don't know that if it had won, if it should have won. De Niro plays a talk show host in this one, a late night talk show host, who Arthur Fleck kind of respects at the start. And Arthur Fleck wants to be a stand-up comedian and has a dream of being on his show. But really, it speaks some to the state of healthcare, and especially mental health care in the country, and where he can't see his therapist anymore to be able to get his meds because funding was cut for that department. So it really makes the statement that had he been able to, almost makes the statement that had he been able to stay on his meds, that this might not have happened. But like I said, I'm not going to get into that whole mental health debate and how well or not well this represented mental illness. I will leave it at I thought it was a good movie, but not a great movie. Joaquin Phoenix did a good job, but I don't know that his eventual Joker lived up to the Joker that I love as my favorite villain. And I guess that's where I'll leave that. So that's Joker. 1917, World War I epic. And I'm trying to get to where I have directed by Sam Mendes and written by Sam Mendes, and Christy Wilson Carnes. This movie is talked about as being a one-shot movie. That's not entirely true. It's 2 shots. There's even a thing I'm looking at here on IMDb that says why 1917 had to be 1 shot. It wasn't. It was 2. There was a definite spot where they had to do something in the movie to be able to jump ahead a few hours, which that created a 2nd shot. But this is about Dean Charles Chapman plays Lord Lance Corporal Blake, and he is sent on a mission to go to his brother's outfit, his brother's division of the army, and stop them from doing an attack that they are about to do the next morning, because they have discovered that it's a trap that was set by the Germans and they're going to get slaughtered. And because it's his brother who is the lieutenant of that company, he gets sent to deliver the letter from the general, because phone communications have been cut as well, so they can't communicate with them without sending somebody. And he has to pick somebody to go with, and he picks George McKay's character, Lance Corporal Schofield, to go with him on this mission. So when the movie starts, it does follow in real time, 1 shot, the 2 of them on their journey up to a certain point, and then something happens to allow some hours to pass, and then it follows in 1 shot from there to the end of the movie. Obviously not. Obviously, it had to have been done in several takes and edited together as a single shot. Because there's no way they did it in like 2 takes. But it, I enjoyed this movie. It only had one spot that kind of shocked me. That did something I wasn't expecting. But other than that, it was largely predictable. If you've seen these kind of war movies in the past, if you've seen Saving Private Ryan, or, it was largely predictable. Enjoyable, but largely predictable. The cinematography was great. The sound editing was great. It had a lot of good things going for it. But ultimately, I liked it. I didn't love it. I would watch it again, but it didn't live up totally to what I was even expecting when I saw the previews for it before Star Wars and before I even knew it was nominated for Best Dramatic Picture at the Golden Globes. It didn't end up being as good as I originally thought it was going to be before I ever even knew that there was awards. It had been nominated for awards. So, with that being said, of the 5 films, my favorite, if you didn't gather, was The Irishman. I just absolutely loved that movie, and I want to watch it again. Like, it's 3.5 hours, and I want to watch it again. I thought the performances were just so fantastic in that movie. Outside, Al Pacino let me down a little bit. I will say that. Al Pacino let me down a little bit. He wasn't as good as he can be. I felt... This may not sound like it makes sense, but his Jimmy Hoffa, I felt like it was... This is going to sound weird. Al Pacino doing Jimmy Hoffa. It had a very almost stereotypical Al Pacino, like if you see a sketch comic or old Saturday Night Live doing Al Pacino, it felt like that imitation of Al Pacino doing Jimmy Hoffa. So I didn't always buy into Al Pacino's Jimmy Hoffa, but Joe Pesci's performance alone is worth sitting through that 3.5 hour movie to me. And De Niro does a great job, and it's just so, to me, so riveting, and so, like I said, I was just gripped from like the first few sentences that Robert De Niro speaks. I was there. I was in it. And that is ultimately what I want in a movie like that. I want to be gripped. I want to be so invested in it that I forget what I'm doing. And that was The Irishman for me. Out of these 5 films, that was The Irishman for me. So I would say The Irishman... Marriage Story, and it's a toss-up between The Two Popes and The Joker, honestly, for my top 3. Like I said, 1917 was good. It didn't live up to... Yeah, I'd say, because I seriously just left the theater a couple hours ago from 1917, so that is still very fresh, still processing. But definitely Irishman, and I would say Marriage Story were my top 2 of the bunch. Because I'm still thinking about Marriage Story. It felt overly long at times. Sometimes it felt a little draggy, but I'm still thinking about it. And that like I said, that says a lot. So 1917 would not have been my pick for the Best Dramatic Picture. And now, because it's won the Golden Globe for Best Picture, it is almost a shoo-in for a Oscar nomination tomorrow, or today as you're watching. Today, as this video is going up, the Oscar nominations are out or are coming out. So I will not be surprised at all to find 1917 up for Best Picture. Excuse me. So yeah, that's my take on the 5 films that were nominated for the Golden Globes. And we'll get better at this talking about movies thing. It's been a long time since I've done it. I used to do this kind of thing all the time with, like, friends and stuff would ask me for my reviews, and I didn't have a blog, but sometimes I'd write stuff out, just like if I did have a blog, I would like pretend write reviews for newspapers and stuff. I don't know, it was a long time ago, but because I kind of, it was something, it was a large interest of mine, was reviewing movies. So I used to practice it, but I've been out of practice at talking about movies in a review kind of mindset for a long time. So I'll get better at doing this as I do it. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these movies, what you thought of them. If you thought the right film won the Golden Globe, if you were following that at all. And I will be back with movie content again next Monday. Like I said, I think it's going to be movies on Monday, Movie Mondays. I think FlossTube is going to be on Wednesdays. Whip Wednesdays for FlossTube. Book content as I have it. It'll be, I'll be, I haven't finished any books. Like, I don't have any books to talk about right now. I have a TBR video to put up for the Reading Women Challenge, is what I was trying to get up before this video, but the upload kept failing, so I have to figure that out. Hopefully this video I don't have any problems uploading, but and then when I do have classic movie content, I think that's going to be on like Thursdays when I have it, and book content around that when I have it. When I go into BookTube prize judging, I can't even talk about that stuff until the round is over, and that'll comprise most of my reading. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Thank you to all my subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you, especially if you have stuck with me through the channel name change and the rebranding. I appreciate it. I appreciate you checking this video out. I appreciate you checking out the new content. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, if you're here because it's a movie video, there is more movie content coming. I don't do exclusively movie content, but it'll be a large part of my channel moving forward. So hopefully you stick around, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me, and I will see you all in the next one.